This webinar is
while
being
the
recorded and summarized.
director tries to get it on the line, and then we'll move forward from there. Well, I'd like to go ahead and welcome everyone. I see a lot of familiar faces. Is anyone here that this is their first time attending a board meeting? Glad to have both of you. Thank you. Our meetings on Thursday morning are open meetings. The training and education meeting, as well as law and rules. We did not have a law and rules this morning because we have nothing to cover this month, but we'll be back with bells on in January. So this time I'd ask that everyone stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Got her. The board chair, Ms. Rabenold, is on the line now, so we're going to let her speak for a minute. She couldn't be with us. She is at a conference across country. So go ahead, Tamara.
All right. Thanks, Steve. And not quite across country, just down in Florida. Oh. So good morning, everyone. And I get to do kind of like a little welcoming remarks. Really appreciate everyone joining us for the November meeting of the Protective Services Board. Good to see everybody, even though only virtually. For those in the room, please be sure to sign in at the back so you receive your 2 continuing education credits for attending, along with a sheet for public comments. I don't know if we've already asked or if we've already done all of that, but do we have any first timers in the audience?
2.
Raise your hand.
We have 2.
Oh, welcome. Cool. So have you already said what this meeting's all about? Am I repeating?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So for your reference for our first timers and then anybody who isn't a regular attendee, much of what we do here involves reporting out from the committees. And during those discussions, there may be opportunities for feedback from the audience. So if you have a comment or question related to a topic under discussion, please feel free to raise your hand, and either the vice chair or the committee chair, if we're in a committee report, we'll work to recognize you. And if we miss you, please remind us. We're not super formal. I don't know, that may change, but we're not overly formal here. We're very approachable and appreciate your participation. A reminder that the only closed committee meetings are grievance and screening, and all the others are open, including training, education, and law and rules, both of which normally meet prior to this meeting. I know only training and education met this morning. But if something arises that you really want more context on and want to be able to have more discussion, those are the meetings that are best placed to kind of hear those details more fully and ask questions. Now, before we move into the regular scheduled agenda, I just want to offer a few personal remarks. I think everyone, and it's good that I'm not there because I hate to cry in front of all of you, because that is what will happen as, take a deep breath. Huh. Everyone knows how much I've loved serving on this board, and it kills me not to be with you today for this meeting, which is the first one that I've missed in the past 6.5 years, and my last one as the member of this board. Serving on the board and as your chair has been a professional highlight for me. Working with each of you and contributing to the advancement of our industry and our profession has just meant the world to me. I'm so grateful for the collaborative spirit that's defined our time together and these past 2 years as chair. I'm confident that the board will continue to do great things for the industry and for the citizens of North Carolina. You know, looking ahead, I'm excited to see how your efforts continue to move the profession forward. Not telling you what to do, but I'm just reminding you of some things that are kind of in the works. Hope you don't mind. From, the ongoing review of our continuing ed requirements to modernizing the CE trainer and course application process with the reporting through Promedium, to strengthening partnerships and raising awareness with law enforcement and the ABC Commission to help us address unlicensed activity, I think all of these are really important initiatives with meaningful impact. And I know the director will continue to keep everyone informed, especially through the hot sheet. And I look forward to reading those updates, even if I will not get to hear them necessarily in real time. So I'd also like to take a quick moment to recognize my dear friend, Larry Flannery, who passed away in September, which was the last time most of us were together in Raleigh. So Larry was the one who encouraged me to join the NCAPI board years ago, a decision that ultimately opened the door to my service as part of this board. So his belief in me really shaped my path, and it feels right to honor that today. And really what's incredible, in that same spirit of continuity, I'm so grateful that the governor appointed Don Miller to fill what was previously my seat. And I know you all know Don. He's a regular in the audience, and his long service on the NCAPI board, including his role as vice president of education and as president for many years, reflects the same commitment to this profession that Larry championed and that I have tried to champion as well. So I could not be more pleased with his appointment, and his steady leadership, experience, and dedication to our profession will certainly serve this board well. So although I hate not being in the room with all of you for this final meeting, being virtual has at least helped me keep my emotions in check a little bit, because I'd hate to be ugly crying as a way to start this meeting. That's not how you need to get kicked off. So with all of that, just thank you to all of you, especially Director Sherwin and Attorney Gray, for your steady support and guidance. Couldn't have done it without my vice chair, all of the chairs of the committees. And again, just my gratitude is deep, and it truly has been a privilege to serve alongside you all. So that is all I have to say. And we'll turn it over to Attorney Gray for our admonishments.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and we will miss you terribly.
Thanks, guys. Thanks.
All right, let's see if we can do this without her.
You absolutely can.
In accordance with the State Ethics Act, it is the duty of every board member to avoid both conflicts of interest or appearance of conflict. If a board member has any known conflict of interest or appearance of conflict with regard to any matter coming before this board meeting today, please so state the conflict or appearance of conflict and refrain from any deliberation and vote in that particular matter.
Thank you. Before we get started on the actual agenda, I want to say a couple of things. First of all, I want to thank Tamara for her service. She's been a wonderful member of the board, very enthusiastic member of the board. It's been a pleasure for me to work with her. I've been on this board many, many years, and she has been a delight to work with and serve as her vice chair for several years now. I am confident we have not seen the last of her. I'm hopeful that she will be attending these meetings on a regular basis. I had planned on doing this during new business, but since she's brought it up, I'll go ahead and mention we're losing two board members. Ms. Rabenold, her term technically expires tomorrow. And as she mentioned, Don Miller will be taking her place. Don's been a longtime member of the audience here. Very proactive in the PI Association, does a lot with their conferences and putting together their training programs. So we're delighted to have Don. Kim Hefney will be leaving us. Kim is on the alarms board, though, I understand. But Kim will be, this is his last meeting here. His position will be taken by Deidre Hatcher. Ms. Hatcher is a longtime retired SBI agent. I think she works Southeastern District.
Charlotte District.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
That's right.
Northern, yeah.
And she is from Matthews, North Carolina, so she will be joining us in January. So we look forward to having her, and Kim can warn her and let her know what she's getting into. So that would be great. And Kim, we want to thank you for your service. We appreciate it.
I've enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed working with everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's move into the board minutes from September. Do we have any discussion, changes, anything that needs to be done with those minutes?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. All right. Mr. Gray, final agency decisions.
We have none this month.
Thank you, sir. And we'll move on to our committee reports. The first one will be, Judge Burris with Grievance Committee.
Our first case was 2024 PPS 105, Natasha Alanis Williams, Southeastern Protective Service. We initially heard this case in March of this year, March 20th, 2025. And the board decision at that time, based on the grievance committee recommendation, was to find a violation of 74C11, enter into a consent agreement with Ms. Williams and Southeastern Protective Service in the amount of $489.60 for 4 unarmed security guard registration violations. The staff was to conduct a follow-up registration audit for the fourth quarter of 2025 and the first quarter of 2026. And Ms. Williams was directed to attend registration procedures training following the March or September board meetings in 2025. However, when presented with the consent agreement, the respondents did not sign. Therefore, the case was scheduled for hearing on the initial complaint at our meeting yesterday, November 19th. The recommendation is that we set aside the March 20th board decision and, based on our hearing yesterday, find a violation of 74C11, suspend Ms. Williams' security guard and patrol license and Southeastern Protective Services Company business license for 30 days for 3 unarmed security guard registration violations. The next case is 2025 PPS 49 Clifton Tenon, United Risk and Safety Consulting Group. The recommendation is to find violation of 74C2, 74C11, continue the cease and desist order previously issued to Clifton Tenon and United Risk and Safety Consulting Group. Attorney Gray is to file a complaint for injunctive relief against Mr. Tenon and United Risk and Safety Consulting Group. Should Mr. Tenon apply for a license, the matter is to be referred to screening with a recommendation to deny the license for the unpaid $19,461.60 owed in the consent agreement of 2018 PPS 32. The board staff is to notify all known clients of United Risk and Safety Consulting Group of the findings in this case. The companion case was 2025 PPS 50, Catherine Malinowski, also United Risk and Safety Consulting Group. Similarly, the recommendations to find a violation of 74C2 and 74C11, continue the cease and desist order previously issued to Ms. Malinowski, as well as United Risk and Safety Consulting Group. Attorney Gray is to file a complaint for injunctive relief also against Ms. Malinowski, refer the matter to screening should she apply for a registration or license, and the board staff is to notify all known clients of United Risk and Safety Consulting Group of the findings in this case. Next case was 2025 PPS 54, Michael Ray Parker. Recommendations to find a violation of 74C 13A and 14B NCAC 16.0807. Continue the cease and desist order previously issued to Mr. Parker for working as an armed security guard without an armed security guard registration. Refer the matter to screening should Mr. Parker apply for a license or registration. Next case is Kyrie Samir Knight McKinnon, Triangle Protection Group. The recommendation is to find a violation of 74C2. Continue the cease and desist order previously issued to Mr. McKinnon and Triangle Protection Group, LLC. Attorney Gray is to file a complaint for injunctive relief against Mr. McKinnon and Triangle Protection Group. Refer the matter to screening should Mr. McKinnon apply for a license or registration. 20 25 PPS 70, Christian Casey Hatley, East Security Services. The recommendation to find a violation of 74C2 and 74C13. Continue the cease and desist order previously issued to Mr. Hatley and East Security Services. Refer the matter to screening should Mr. Hatley apply for a license or registration. 2025 PPS 71, Timothy John Gosh, AM Security Group. The recommendations to find a violation of 74C10. A non-disciplinary warning is issued to Mr. Gosh to not commit a subsequent violation of 74C10, which I will note he allowed his insurance to lapse. 2025 PPS 74, Janard Abdul Karim, AW Security Services. Recommendations to find a violation of 74C13, enter into a consent agreement with Mr. Kareem and AW Security Services in the amount of $489.60 for 4 unarmed security guard registration violations. Mr. Kareem is to attend the registration procedures training following the March 2026 board meeting. And board staff is to conduct a follow-up registration compliance audit for the 3rd and 4th quarters of 2026. 2025 PPS 75, Jeffrey Tanksley, Guardiex, LLC. The recommendation to find a violation of 74C13 and 74C11. Enter into a consent agreement with Mr. Tanksley and Guardiex in the amount of $4,161.60 for 22 unarmed security guard registration violations and 8 armed security guard registration violations. The staff is to conduct a follow-up registration compliance audit for the 3rd and 4th quarters of 2026. Mr. Tanksley and his designees, Nay Smith and Taylor Collins, are to attend the registration procedures training following the March 2026 board meeting. 2025 PPS 76, John Joseph Finnegan, Intercon Security Systems. The recommendations to find a violation of 74C13 and 74C11. Enter into a consent agreement with John Joseph Finnegan and Intercon Security Systems in the amount of $28,029.60 for 145 unarmed security guard registration violations and 56 armed security guard registration violations. The staff is to conduct a follow-up registration compliance audit for the 3rd and 4th quarters of 2026. Mr. Finnegan and his designees, Monty Floyd, James Green, and Daniel Tilley, are to attend the registration procedures training following the March 2026 board meeting. 2025 PPS 78, John Melkin, DDQs LLC. This was a follow-up registration compliance audit. There were no violations found, and the recommendation is to find no violation. 2025 PPS 79, Ambra Caruso Narcio, A&A Associates. The recommendation is to find a violation of 74C13, 74C11. Enter into a consent agreement with Ms. Narcio and A and Associates in the amount of $1,468.80 for 9 unarmed security guard registration violations and 2 armed security guard registration violations. The staff is to conduct a follow-up registration compliance audit for the 3rd and 4th quarters of 2026, and Ms. Narcio is to attend a registration procedures training following the March 2026 board meeting. The next 2 cases are companion cases. 2025 PPS 80 and 2025 PPS 81. Ricky Lee Guthrie and Colonel Elder, both with the Sentinel Group 6. The recommendation in each case is to find violations of 74C12A1, 14B NCAC 16.0911 subsection A subsection 2, and 16.0911 subsection A subsection 3. Issue a disciplinary letter of reprimand to Mr. Guthrie and to Mr. Elder for submitting inaccurate documentation in connection with an application to renew their respective unarmed guard trainer certification. Mr. Guthrie and Mr. Elder are to attend the PPSB Unarmed Guard Trainer Workshop no later than February 28th, 2026. (2025) PPS 87, Brandon Alexander Owens. The recommendation is to find a violation of 74C2, 74C13A. Continue the cease and desist order previously issued to Mr. Owens. Refer the matter to the screening committee should Mr. Owens apply for license or registration. (2025) PPS 88, Ave Shanque Gilliam Gomez, Protection Detail. The recommendation to find violations of 74C2 and 74C13A. Continue the cease and desist order previously issued to Mr. Gilliam and refer the matter to the screening committee should Mr. Gilliam apply for a license or registration. Also, companion case with the next two cases. 2025 PPS 89 and 2025 PPS 90, along with Mr. Gilliam. Dormani Smith and Brittany Inman. The recommendation in each case is to find a violation of 74C13B, continue the cease and desist previously issued to Mr. Smith and Mr. Inman, and refer the matter to screening should Ms. Inman or Mr. Smith apply for a license or registration. And the last case was 2025 PPS 92, Reza Halala, Access Control Security. Find a violation of 74C2, continue the cease and desist order previously issued to Ms. Halala, and refer the matter to screening should he apply for a license or registration. And I believe those are all of our cases.
Thank you, Judge. This time I'll entertain a motion to accept the report.
So moved.
Have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
And a second. Are there any recusal?
One.
Yes, sir.
Number one.
Number one. Ms. Williams, is that the case? Okay. Any other recusals? At this time, we'll vote on all the cases 2 through 19. All in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. And finally, we'll vote on case number 1, Natasha Williams. All those in favor, accepting the report, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign.
We have one other matter.
Okay.
Just it arose in that last case, but it has come up in some other situations. We have had out-of-state brokers and service providers who are unlicensed in North Carolina request licensed providers in North Carolina to provide services in North Carolina for the out-of-state unlicensed provider or broker. Our policy has been longstanding that that's a violation by the out-of-state provider and would be a violation of the in-state provider for providing those services under subcontract. We know that that happens, and we know that there are many licensed providers in North Carolina who are aware of it and do not provide those services. We also know that there are others that do. there are reasons to debate the policy and whether it's sufficient. And one of the particular issues that we face is the ability to enforce it on the out-of-state providers, if we can't establish jurisdiction, for instance. But there are other issues. So grievance has a recommendation that the matter and the policy be referred to law and rules for discussion and consideration for whatever recommendation should come out of that about how to go forward with it. That's sufficient?
Yes, sir.
Explain what the problem is?
Yes, sir. All right. Next, we have our screening report, Ms. Duncan.
Good morning. Yesterday, the screening committee met. We reviewed 66 applications for consideration and make the following recommendations. Robin Alford, private investigator approved. Amy Bailey, private investigator approved. Christopher Brain, armored car approved. Darren Kanzler, security guard and patrol approved. Sergey Chassain, security guard and patrol approved. Jonathan Collier, security guard and patrol approved. Joshua Craig, security guard and patrol approved. Bennett Craven, private investigator associate, denied for failure to complete the application process and lack of a sponsor. John Crook, private investigator approved. Gerald Cunningham, private investigator approved. Boris Custody, proprietary approved. Catherine Dangerfield, private investigator associate, approved level 1 with 800 hours. Ronald Evans, close personal protection approved. Monica Franklin, private investigator associate, approved level 1 with 800 hours. Anthony Gentile, digital forensics examiner approved. Rex Virgin Jr., security guard and patrol approved. Eric Rabsky Jr., digital forensics examiner approved. Richard Gregg, private investigator associate, approved level 2 with 1,000 hours. William Groper, security guard and patrol approved. Trevor Hall, close personal protection approved. Benjamin Hensel III, private investigator approved. David Hazlett, private investigator approved. Tiffany Howell, private investigator associate, approved level 2 with 1,000 hours. Asmina Eustelio, private investigator approved. Laverne Jacobs III, security guard and patrol denied for lack of verifiable experience. Jonathan Jessup, close personal protection approved. Craig Johnson, security guard and patrol approved. Craig Johnson, courier service approved. Mark Katner, proprietary approved. Linwood King, private investigator approved. John Locklear, private investigator approved. Francisco Martinez, courier service approved. Todd McGee, private investigator approved. Todd McGee, security guard and patrol approved. Hilson McManus, private investigator associate, approved with the condition level 1 with 0 hours on the condition a written plan of supervision is submitted. Lawrence Messick, proprietary approved. Joshua Miller, security guard and patrol denied for lack of verifiable experience. Andrew Moorhead, private investigator associate, approved level 1 with 800 hours. Abram Moore, security guard and patrol approved. Timothy Moran, private investigator approved. Tyler Mustak, private investigator approved. Christopher Oxendine, close personal protection approved. Tanya Pittman, private investigator associate, approved level 1 with 400 hours. Christopher Raines, close personal protection approved with the condition of a receipt of a favorable fingerprint-based criminal history records check. Jeffrey Ramsey, close personal protection approved. Larry Robinson, private investigator approved the condition he surrenders sworn law enforcement status. Ronaldo Rodriguez Ortega, private investigator associate, approved level 1 with 400 hours. Jennifer Rush, security guard and patrol approved. Larry Salyards Jr., private investigator approved. Alwyn Kentrell, close personal protection approved. Scott Sherwood, private investigator approved. Brian Keith Smith, close personal protection approved. Lauren Smith, private investigator approved. Jesus Soto, security guard and patrol approved. Gabriel Stevens, private investigator approved. Jeffrey Steele, security guard and patrol approved. Christina Supa, private investigator approved. Rebecca Thomas, new branch office approved. Jonathan Willard, close personal protection approved. Jeffrey Williams, security guard and patrol approved. Tyler Williams, private investigator associate, approved level 1 with 0 hours. Jeffrey Young, private investigator associate, approved with condition. Jeffrey Young entered into and paid consent agreement of $3,060 for 36 months of unlicensed activity, level 1 with 0 hours. James Holden, QA for 2 companies, approved. Robert Tarpley, QA for 2 companies approved. Benjamin Myers, unarmed registration, denial appeal, approved. Dean Wiley, armed registration, denial appeal, denied for invalid training certificate. And that is the screening committee report.
I think she just did about 66 cases and didn't take a breath. I couldn't scroll my screen fast enough to get. Thank you. All right, do I have a motion to accept the report of the screening committee?
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Recusal. Get into that. Susan, get a second.
Second.
All right. Recusal.
On the addendum, the last one, Dean Wiley.
Right. Any other recusal?
I have 2.
Okay.
Number 6, Jonathan Collier. And then the last one, Dean Wiley.
Okay. All right. So the initial vote will be on all cases with the exception of number 6. And the last one was Mr. Wiley. All those in favor of accepting the report indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. All right, the next vote will be on number 6 only. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. And finally, the last vote will be on recusals for Mr. Wiley. All those in favor of the report indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, like sign. Thank you, and thank you, Ms. Duncan. Our next report, committee report, will be training and education, Ms. Ratliff.
Okay, so we have quite a few unarmed trainer workshops coming up. So we have one more for the year 2025, so that's in December. And we have one for February, May, July, September, and November of 2026. All of our firearm trainer recertification and pre-quals are done for 2025. But for 2026, we have a March 4th, March 31st, April 15th, September 23rd, October 7th, and November 10th. And it's important to note for the March 4th and November 10th one, those are for handgun and long gun. For the firearm trainer workshop for days, we have 2 dates for next year. So that's May 5th through May 8th and October 20th through the 23rd. For your long trainer courses, you have one more for this year. So that's December 2nd through the 4th. And for next year, that's going to be April 7th through the 9th. We're happy to announce 17 new trainers passed in the September class this past September. And for your, and then we had and we just completed 2 pre-qual courses. One was October 9th, and the second one we just completed last week which was November 12th. On September 30th through October 3rd, we completed a new firearms trainer workshop. Also happy to announce we have 14 new firearms trainers. As far as audits, we completed 2 audits, one for a Tommy Fur that was completed on October 8th for Piedmont Protective Services. I'm happy to report that all of his post and pre-delivery reports were accounted for and in order. And the second firearm observation we had 1 trainer audit and 1 firearm trainer observation. So the observation was for Anthony Gallo, and his was October 13th. At the Triangle Shooting Academy, and no observations were observed. As far as weapon discharges for the month, since we've met the last time, we've had 2. One was for James Shepard for Billy Graham, the Billy Graham Association. That was going to be, that occurred September 10th with an AR-15 rifle. As he was attempting to clear the rifle, he shot some concrete. He has since went back and completed remedial firearms training class. Until he did complete that class, they did return him to unarmed status. The second one that you had is for a Robert Santiago for Watch Commander DBA T-Soft software products. That occurred September 18th at 9:30 p.m. This incident involved an altercation with someone else. The result of that altercation resulted in a charge of an assault with a deadly weapon with intent to kill, inflicting serious injury. And also he was charged for working armed security without being properly registered. So he actually was properly registered. He just did not have his paperwork on him at the time. And so that was the result of that incident. So that's still pending with the district attorney's office. The topics for discussion that we had was adding the human trafficking components and counterterrorism components to the 16-hour training class. So we're going to be adding the slides to the legal aspect of the first 4 hours of class, and that is going to go in the crimes portion of that segment, as well as we're going to add 2 supplemental blocks, 1 hour blocks into the curriculum. So an instructor can choose to add those sections into their curriculum should they want to. The second thing that we voted on to change is for firearms instructors that are recertifying. The way it stands right now, when you go renew, you have to qualify 2 out of 3 times. And so we voted to change that to 1 out of 2 times. And again, that's important to note that it's only for renewing firearms instructors. The third thing that we discussed was the possibility of presenting, like an officer carrying a digital copy of their guard application and their training certificate on them on their phones in the interim of them receiving their guard card from the state. And so we decided to table that subject until we can form a subcommittee for training and education. And we also wanted to discuss the uniforms, right, with that subcommittee. So as of right now, it would be myself, Andy Renfro, and William McCray. But we also are looking for industry members too who want to join that subcommittee. So if you're interested, please just let me know. And that concludes my report.
All right, thank you. And
I'm sorry, the course, thank you. Sorry.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Courses.
Right.
Okay, so the courses that we went over today, one of them was from William Milton, Stop the Bleed. The second one was catastrophic bleeding loss prevention, the OC spray, and the ASP baton and handcuffing training. He also submitted a civilian response to active shooter events. Francis Tolatino submitted case research backgrounds and records, and Mr. James Holden submitted threat assessment awareness training. So we approved everything with the exception of the catastrophic bleeding loss and prevention, only because we'd like to see him have that CPR instructor certification for that course, and with the exception of the threat assessment awareness training, because we'd like the actual course outline in more detail, not just the syllabus. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Under education training, we also have a subcommittee on continuing education. Mr. Renfro, have y'all met, or you have any updates?
We have not met. We're still waiting on permitting. I think they're supposed to have their stuff together by January.
Okay.
I'm looking at bringing that committee back up in January to address some things as soon as we get it back on board.
Okay, thank you, sir. I'll entertain a motion to accept the training committee's report.
So moved.
Have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like signs. Law and rules did not meet. We had nothing pending right now. Well, what we do have pending is in a public comment period through December. But we have a special committee on polygraph licensing. Mr. Austin, do you have anything?
The special committee has not met, but as the board remembers, when I first came on board, my main concern was unlicensed polygraph examiners being allowed to sit on the licensing panel. Since the North Carolina Polygraph Association is the one that provides those examiners, I've been working very closely with their licensed representative on their board to recruit a pool of licensed, vetted licensed polygraph examiners. We hope to have that very soon.
Okay. I don't think we need to vote on that because that was just an update and there was no committee report. Thank you. Finance Committee, Ms. McCray.
The Finance Committee did not meet this month.
Okay. but the bills are being paid.
Yes. Mr. Sherwin has kept us up to date.
Got it. Thank you. Emerging technology, Ms. Creek?
So Emerging Technology Committee has not met, but I've been doing research on AI because that seems to be what is the what's taken off the fastest and going to affect our industry the most. So I'm going to share with you some information that I've received. Open source intelligence to do automated checks for social media, industry matching across, identity matching across platforms, facial resemblance matching. Then there's a non-law enforcement version, dark web footprint monitoring and deep fake detection. Some of the examples that we can use for these particular avenues is Shadow Dragon, and Scope Now, SKOPE Now. And that's good for domestic cases, background checks, threat analysis, and asset tracking. GPS is evolving. There are some micro GPS trackers that are coming out that will last. The battery life is weeks, which is great. They are probably the size of a dime at this point, some that I've seen. But just keep in mind that we have our GPS laws that we still have to adhere to. Drone technology upgrades, thermal imaging, if you're licensed to do drones, thermal imaging, ultra quiet propellers, night vision cameras, georeferencing. But just keep in mind, I believe it is FAA Rule 107 that you have to follow to be able to use that. AI body language and micro expression analysis. These tools evaluate stress patterns, truth versus deception indicators, emotional shifts during interviews. And that's good for witness interviews, employee thefts, cheating spouse confrontations, and child custody evaluations. For those that do smartphone extractions, there's the Celebrite, which a lot of y'all are used to. There's Celebrite Ultra and there's Gray Key Mini equivalents. These are civilian compliant versions that are now allowed. They will recover deleted text recovery, encrypted app metadata, device-to-device cloning for analysis, and social media session token extractions. And that's good for people that do criminal cases, cyber stalking, harassment, and infidelity. But you must have a owner consent to be able to do that. There is also AI-driven license plate recognition networks. They offer real-time hit alerts, historic moving mapping, regional North Carolina data sharing between businesses and PI networks, and pattern trails. And if you're doing missing person cases, insurance fraud, skip tracing, or asset recovery, that's something that you may want to look into. Voice cloning detection and audio authentication. This is huge right now because of deep fakes, and deep fakes are rising. What it evaluates is the frequency of anomalies, micro timing inconsistencies, and manipulation signatures, and that's good for domestic cases, harassment, custody disputes involving threats, and if you do extortion cases. Wearable covert technology, that's something that's evolving all the time. The button cameras, if you've been on social media at all, you've seen the glasses that are out there. Predictive behavior analytics, PI-specific software can analyze social media posts, location patterns, online purchases, and public records to predict risk behaviors, hidden places, and communication methods. And that is good for missing person cases, custody cases involving risk and high conflict divorces. There are plenty of AI report writing, evidence, PI software out there now. It can save you a lot of time, but do not use that as the end all. Don't just hit submit and give that to your client. You have to be able to review that and make adjustments. Here's what's coming in the next 2 to 3 years. Real-time language translation for undercover settings, nano drones, which are about the size of golf balls, and cross-platform digital shadow reconstruction. So that's an AI building platform to build a full profile, even when the subject has all of their social media and everything on private. Emotion detection and microphone analysis, voice stress in real time. So there's a lot out there in the AI community right now. So I'll be happy to send this link to anyone that wants it, or I'm hoping at the next meeting that we will have a presentation, like maybe have a monitor so everyone can see the different AI tools that are available for us to use. But right now, that's it. The committee has not met, but there's a lot going on in the technology sector.
Is it possible to give that link to Director Sherman so he can put it on the hot sheet?
I will. Absolutely.
Before we do that, let me ask this question. Would that put us in a situation where we're advertising for any specific companies because they're listed in here?
I don't think so.
You might want to check on that just to make sure.
I don't think we're promoting them though. We are
Okay.
just listing this as new technologies out there. I don't think we're promoting or endorsing them, as long as we are promoting or endorsing them.
And I guess my next question is, and I'm fine with that, if we do that and another company comes up and says, well, you didn't list us,
We can put them on.
we got to go back and put them on it or anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that happened you will recall, that's one reason for the rule change. We listed some first aid courses and we left the company out. Fine.
Correct.
As long as you're legit, we'll put you in our rule.
The other thing I would ask is that you mentioned like the FFA Rule 107. If there's any part of this that we should caution our licensees about, that you need to do this, that should go in the hot sheet. Your comment about written reports, don't accept just an AI produced document. You're responsible for the document you give to your client. You should read it. You're signing off on that. Maybe we should put some of those cautions in there as well. So if you've got anything like that, Suzanne, that you think is important to address, then if you would give it to the director. Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
It was my understanding Ms. Creech was just giving out a broad spectrum of information. It wasn't narrowed down to an individual source like a company.
There were a few in here that I referenced, but not many. I mean, there are some references here, and I will send that to the director and get with him and just make sure that they're okay to reference. If not, then it will be a broad spectrum for you to further research.
Yeah, that's what I understood. That's what
Correct.
I didn't think it was one individual company or multitude of companies as much as it was a generalization.
Right.
She mentioned certain items in the beginning of the report by name, and that was the ones I was concerned about, making sure that we don't do anything we shouldn't. Okay, since the committee did not meet, I don't think we need a motion on that. That was the information.
Thank you.
Unlicensed activity.
We did not meet unlicensed activity. That is an ongoing problem that we have within the state. Stay alert in your area. If you see someone that is operating unlicensed, report it. Our staff is doing a great job in following up with those reports. They're staying busy. I know Pitt County, we have a lot of support from local law enforcement in Pitt County, and we stay on top of that. So you have to do that with your county as well. I mean, it's going to take more than just a committee. We all have to be dealing with unlicensed activity.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Ms. Ratcliffe, Armed Services Board, the joint committee.
I don't have anything at the moment, but I would like to circle back in January, but we did not meet.
Okay, thank you. Any old business? Director Sherwin, do you have anything or pretty great? No, sir. All right. New business?
The only thing I had on there was just a report out on the IASSER, the International Association of Security and Investigative Regulators Conference that several of us attended in Kansas City in early October. That was Mr. Renfro, me, Jeff Gray, Board Secretary Mercedes, and Investigator Bill Rafton. That was about 2.5 days in Kansas City. As usual, it was a great conference, an excellent opportunity to learn from other jurisdictions and other companies about best practices in security regulation. Covered a lot of topics, including close personal protection regulation. North Carolina continues to be a leader in that area. Mental health, the challenges that regulating persons who may have mental health conditions present. It was interesting to hear how different jurisdictions, including several provinces in Canada, everyone handles it a little different in terms of who gets a license or registration and who doesn't based on their mental history or lack thereof. Mr. Renfro, anything else to add?
Yeah, so the mental health stuff really got my attention. And something else that got my attention while we were there was the AI integration and misuse of AI integration. So the states are looking at that pretty heavily. As Mr. Sherwin said, we are the leader in the CPP world. Other states are really looking at what we've done. Tennessee is they're fixing to roll out quite a bit of stuff and regulations. Getting with a couple other board members from other states while I was there, they were talking about possibly doing a left seat, right seat. Maybe having our staff go to their state, for 2 or 3 days and see how they handle their processes versus their staff coming to our state, seeing how we handle our processes. So one thing I can say is that all in all, the states are very interested in working together and coming together and trying to unify this across the board. We did have As Is was there as well. They talked about their CPP program and certifications that they're coming out with. I thought that was very interesting. It's always good to hear from Chuck Tobin talking about how we need to take this CPP much more seriously and stuff. Another thing that came out once again while I was there, they were talking about brokers. And we discussed that yesterday. We just barely touched on that. Touched about brokers, touched about companies coming into the states and stuff like that. So we discussed that through a round table. I do want to strongly encourage other board members to go to this conference. It's a really good conference. I've gone 3 years in a row. I've learned a lot from other states. I would also encourage industry members and business owners to go to this conference too, because you're able to hear what other states are doing. Everybody's scared of California, but California is actually doing some good stuff for the industry. But all in all, that's my suggestions. That's my feedback. And if anybody wants to talk about it, come talk to me.
All right. Thank you. Director's report. Sherwin?
Sir.
For my director's report, I'll start with personnel updates, including our one temporary employee who's working our front desk. I'm pleased to report that we're fully staffed with all 22 people.
Wow.
Right? Great. That is the first time we've had all 22 in my 6 years here. So it's about time for somebody to retire or quit. Y'all put your hands down. I'm not gonna let them. Our 22nd person, Samantha Spencer, sitting over here next to Garcia, is our newest hire. She started with us on October 13th. She'll be working in the registration section. Samantha brings 15 years of administrative experience to our office, including having worked for several years as a police officer and sheriff's deputy. So another person with some unique and diverse background to help us process applications. So Samantha, welcome. We're happy to have you.
Thank you.
I'd also like to mention that, Investigator Danny Cheatham, who's our Hickory-based investigator, was recognized on November 3rd by Secretary Eddie Buffalo for his exceptional service following Hurricane Helene. The commendation cited Investigator Cheatham's dedication, selflessness, and tireless effort to ensure the safety of countless individuals affected by the storm. Specifically, Investigator Cheatham was nominated for this recognition following his exceptional and proactive efforts to maintain and enforce the regulatory requirements of 74C in Western North Carolina in the weeks and months and years essentially following Hurricane Helene. Danny, I think, did an exceptional job balancing the needs of the communities and the businesses who are affected by the storm out there and their need for security, while also ensuring that the companies and individuals who are providing those security services were qualified and licensed and vetted to do it. He did a great job sending companies home who should not be there, and a great job helping companies who were allowed to be there come into compliance. There were a lot of moving parts in the weeks and months following the hurricane. With when states of emergency is going to affect, all of our rules change. And he did a great job communicating with that. So I'm very proud of the work that he did, and I'm glad that Secretary Buffalo recognized him for that service. Moving on to operations, registration unit. So far this year to date, 28,000 registration applications. That is up more than 3,000 from where we were last year and up more than 8,000 from where we were in 2021. Registration unit is getting a lot of applications. They're doing an outstanding job keeping up. And I hope that we can do even better now that we've got everybody in a seat over there. Licensing unit, 1,067 applications received this year. That's about on par with our odd numbered years. Mercedes and Garcia continuing to do an outstanding job over there. Thank you to both of them. Background investigations for new license applicants this year, 330. That's about on par with the previous years, going back to 24 and 23. It is up significantly from the years prior to that. So indicating the industry is continuing to grow, particularly on the security guard patrol and close personal protection side. And complaint investigations, they've completed 96 of those so far this year, which is similar to the previous 2 years. Training unit, Investigator Battle's not with us this morning, but her numbers are exceptionally high through 2025 with 390 trainer applications compared to just 296 for the same period in the year prior. That's a good thing. I keep hearing the industry needs more trainers, so that means they're coming in. Moving on to licensing, registration, and certification summary. We currently have 31,338 active potentials. That's licenses, registrations, and trainer certifications. That's up 5.5% from your September 2025 board meeting. That breaks down to 27,700 registrants, 2,995 license holders, and 592 trainers. Your finances are fine, but this report, take it with a grain of salt, because as you can see, if I mentioned down there at the bottom, the revenue deposit for September 25 had not been entered into the North Carolina financial system at the time that I generated this report. So the numbers are kind of all wonky. Your report and the director's report shows that you lost money so far this year. That's not true, because it's not reflective of the about $200,000 in revenue you took in September. There was some personnel shuffling in the cash management office at DPS, and so some things didn't get done on time. But I wanted to reflect in my director's report for this time period exactly what is reflected in the official financial reporting. So that's why they look weird, but it's not that bad. So we should see a correction by your January meeting. The good news is, as always, well, not always, but last several years, you have a healthy fund balance to operate. So you have about 14 months of operating expenses in reserve. And your education fund also continuing with a healthy fund balance of about $140,000. You have not paid out any grants so far this fiscal year, but as always, I expect you will. And the following pages are graphical representations of those financial numbers. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions, comments? Thank you, sir. Mr. Gray, attorney's report.
Need a vote to accept the director's report.
Pardon me? Report.
Director, vote to accept the director's.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Motion to accept the director's report. Have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign.
And thank you, Mr. Chairman. How are we going to refer to you? As Mr. Vice Chairman or Mr. Chairman? Or Your Eminence?
Vice Chairman.
I'm
the Vice Chairman today.
Vice Chairman. Mr. Acting Chairman. I refer the board members, I did supplement the attorney's report, so I hope you did get a chance to see it. But beginning on page 1 with Roman numeral 1, as usual, is the status of your consent agreements. The first item regarding Mr. Fallu, Mr. Fallu's matter will come back before the board for a final agency decision. This went to the Office of Administrative Hearings, and it'll come back to you for you in January. So I don't want to comment any further on that. As to the remainder, there was one item that was unpaid at the time of the report. It has now been paid, which is item number 3, Mr. Rodney Bizzle, who had a civil penalty pending for a firearms violation.
That has been paid?
That has been paid, so you can mark that as paid. On the next page, there have been about 6 or 7 more, and if you will notice that each of those have been paid in full. Judge Burris, as chair of grievance, is very conscientious about these, and if they tend to go too long, they will be brought back before grievance. But in this instance, everything has been paid in full. The hearings list is attached. We do have some upcoming hearings before the Office of Administrative Hearings, but it's attached as item number 1. Judge Burris did mention about the matter regarding Ms. Williams. It was item number 1 on the grievance committee's report. And as you can see, she appealed the consent agreement, but it was dismissed on October 30th, hence it coming back before grievance committee for consideration. Under your administrative rules, you do have rules pending. These rules were as a result of the board's bill, which passed the General Assembly. We did not, if you will recall, I mentioned in September, we did not feel the need to go through the temporary rule process, although your new statutory provisions became effective October 1. But the board comment period ended on this first set, and they were filed May 20th, and that passed. And then the second set is coming through. They were filed on September 24th, and the public comment period ends on December 12th. So they will be back for you at your January meeting for final approval. Under litigation, the first matter is regarding injunctive relief against Kwan Shackelford doing business as Big Dog Security for unlicensed security guard patrol activity in the Wayne County area. We had a little trouble, the Sheriff's Department had a little bit of trouble locating him to have him serve. And Ms. Cole determined that he's actually been a little busy here lately. He's spending his nights in the Lenore County Jail. So he's been arrested on some unrelated charges. And so I have sent the complaint to Lenore County to be served there. So I think there's an excuse for them to unable to find him. but we have found him, and they should be able to serve him there in the jail. The next matter is Oakview Group. Again, the grievance committee recommended to the board that injunctive relief be sought against this group. This is a rather interesting case. This is a private management company. They took over the management of all the entertainment venues that were owned and run by the city of Greensboro. Greensboro owned and ran those at one time, and their unarmed security were proprietary and outside of our purview. And when this management company went in, the director over top of all their venues, as well as all their employees, were just moved over to the management company. And no one really thought about the fact that you're no longer proprietary. You're going to have a security guard and patrol license. It was reported to us in April to the board staff. Mr. Rafton investigated it. We, of course, very quickly figured out what was going on. Urged them to get licensed as soon as possible. We sent the typical cease and desist letter. It just wasn't on their radar screen for whatever reason. So it came back before. They attempted in August. Their application came through in August, and the person was not qualified. So at the September board meeting, the decision was made to go ahead and seek injunctive relief against them. And so I did so. I've been talking with their general counsel. I have been talking with their local counsel. Of course, they were served with the answer. And yesterday, Tuesday, 17th, I received a motion for extension of time to respond to the complaint. But they do have an application in. I believe they understand now that they need to have somebody qualified to be their licensee and qualifying agent. The first person that they submitted did not have the qualifications to be a licensee. They had another licensee that was in the process that there was some misunderstanding. He was going after his own company and wasn't going to be a dual for them. So it was just been kind of an interesting progression. But they do have an application in. They filed a motion for extension of time, and we're just at this point going to see what happens. We did have some discussion with staff for the TRO, but I've decided that that's probably not necessary in light of the facts. Under legislation, status of of the bills pending that we've been tracking in there, I do want to bring your attention the bottom of the page under Roman numeral 5 for legislation. House Bill 926, regulatory reform bill passed. And it went into effect without the governor's signature, hence the odd date for the effective date of October 6th. But it did go into effect after your last board meeting. There's a slight modification in it. It originally said 45 days, and now it is 30 days notice that we have to give someone prior to bringing them back before the board for a final agency decision or any other administrative hearings. Of course, we usually give them more than that at the Office of Administrative Hearings, but it is now 30 days. That can be good or bad. We have a lot fewer cases on registration violations going to the Office of Administrative Hearings, since those are heard usually by screening. The majority of them are heard by screening when there's some type of appeal. I've always been a little concerned about that because we tried to get those cases heard as quickly as possible. There's not quite the issue that it used to be, but it's now 30 days that we have to give them notice. The second one was a requirement that all boards engage in informal negotiations with someone prior to denying, suspending, or revoking a registration. That is not an issue, since we give persons an opportunity to appear both before screening and grievance to state their case. And then when we do have a denial for screening for an application, they actually get a second bite in the apple, because Mr. Sherwin will bring them back before, again, typically screening. It's a denial of usually on a criminal charge or something like that. So you have plenty of informal negotiations before you deny, suspend, or revoke someone. So that's not an issue. The third item in that bill is caused a little bit of consternation early on. It requires, first of all, it amended 93B-14, which has existed for quite some time. It allows a board to request, it actually requires a board to request a social security number from any applicant. Then it says who the board can release it to. And you can release it to child support for the state, because there's a statutory provision that says we are supposed to suspend a license or registration for somebody that fails to pay child support. When they first passed that law, we got those from time to time, but I think it is very, very rare to ever get those anymore. So I believe that they just totally forgot about that provision, but the legislature put in a requirement years ago that every board had to suspend or revoke any licensee or registrant or certificate holder, et cetera, if they fail to pay child support. We don't get those anymore, but it's still in the statute. Then the second thing, of course, it can be released to the Department of Revenue for tax purposes. Now they've added a third provision in there, and it says it can be released to the Social Security Administration, but it doesn't say it has to be released to the Social Security Administration. And I say that has to because the consternation came about because there's a new provision that says that we must verify the Social Security number of any applicant. It doesn't say for renewal, so we are now, and I say we are now interpreting this as an applicant. When it first came out, the lawyers, I've told you before, there's a group of attorneys that practice in this same area, being representation in the various boards in North Carolina. We meet, we discuss such things. The consternation came out because everybody thought they would have to go through the private vendor that the Social Security Administration uses to verify applications. To verify the Social Security number in an application. That is a $5,000 initial fee plus $2.25 per name. And it is a private vendor, sort of like our private vendors with CRC.com. A lot of government agencies are outsourcing stuff to private vendors. There's a process out there. As only a bunch of lawyers can do, everybody started parsing the language and looking for cheaper alternatives. There is an alternative. There is the SAVE program under the Department of Human Resources that is free, but it's not one of the groups listed in the statute that we can release the Social Security number to. But all of these boards do just what we do and do criminal background checks. So it has become the consensus of the attorneys that represent all these boards that if your board runs a criminal history record check on an applicant and it comes back as that applicant and Social Security number is always included on that criminal history record check, that we have verified it. And I am one of those that agree with that decision, and that's how we're going to proceed going forward. So the bottom line of this long dissertation is we don't need to change anything. I just want you to make you aware of it is in the statute, it is required. And I think we are already complying with that by doing the criminal history record check. To my knowledge, all the other boards are going to do the same thing. So if we get in trouble for it, everybody's going to have to stay in during recess, and we're not going to be the only one getting punished. But we have met, discussed it, and that's pretty much the consensus of everybody. But again, it had a lot of other stuff in it. Governor didn't sign it. He just let it go into effect without it, and didn't veto it. He just let it go into effect without his signature. But other than that, there have been no changes since the last board meeting. Be glad to answer any questions. And then just remind you, we have another matter on pending litigation that there'll be a closed session before the end of the meeting. Oh, one other thing. And I was hoping you failed me, Mr. McRae.
You haven't given me a chance yet.
There's a typo An administrative rule. When I sent it out, I had just gotten them from the Office of Administrative Hearings. You're required to review it within 5 days. Basically, you say you're accepting responsibility for what they print. There's a typo in there, and I caught it, and I was like, Mr. McRae will catch that, sure as the world. But it was one place where it's supposed, or 2 places where it was supposed to say unarmed, or say armed, and it said unarmed. And I caught it later, but I thought, I'm just going to see if Mr. McRae.
You didn't give me a chance to.
I know. Well, you probably have. Did you catch it? Or are you going to
Yes.
bring it to me?
No,
Oh, you did.
I was going to bring it up with you.
Yep. I'm so proud of it. I was
well,
waiting for the
yeah.
email. I'm so proud of Mr. McRae's job is to read everything. Yep. Thank you. I'm glad you called it. I was going to say I've been waiting for my email all morning saying you have a typo. Yep.
Mr. Gray, on Senate Bill 280,
Yes, sir.
the Private School Security Act, that did pass the House, did it not, and goes into effect December 1st?
I double checked that. You had told me that the other day, and I double checked and I pulled exactly what's on the legislative website. You had mentioned that the other day in a phone conversation, I think is what it was. And I double checked that. I will check again if you think it did, but you mentioned you thought it.
I thought it did,
but I pulled up the legislative history after you mentioned it.
And the same thing with Senate Bill 50, that is still waiting a House vote for the override.
Yep. Nothing has happened on the override.
Has not been put on the calendar.
Correct. It's just set there. Yep.
All right, thank you.
Yep, they attempted it on July 29th. And
right.
Nothing happened. Correct.
Right.
But I will check that again. You mentioned that the other day, and I didn't call you back. But when I did this, I pulled them all and double checked the status. I'll check it 3rd time.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gray.
Mr. Gray.
Yes, sir.
Bill 193, that was overridden, I believe in July, if I remember correctly.
Which one now?
193, the firearm law revisions. My question is, and I've read it and I can't follow it, but it talks about employees. In your opinion, does that require that a contract security company could not be hired?
That's why I bolded employee or volunteer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're not an employee.
Thank you.
If they had proprietary, proprietary armed, it's not a well done bill. And of course, Mr. Epley is attempting to get something done for security guard and patrol companies. But no, that's why I bolded employee or volunteer.
And it's unfortunate. I mean, we get quite a few private schools calling us and they want armed officers. And it's like, yeah.
Well, you and I have discussed this before, and I have a whole stack of bills that, they want everybody and their brother out here to be able to carry weapons on educational property, except armed security guards that are regulated through a state board.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
And this is a strange deal in that it allows any concealed carry permit. So you can have an out-of-state permit.
In-state or out-of-state, yeah.
We have more than 2,000 North Carolina residents who carry concealed weapons with a Virginia permit because they couldn't get a North Carolina. Some of them couldn't get a North Carolina permit because of DWIs or whatever. This also requires you to get 8 hours of training. It does not tell you where. You could train yourself and just say, I did 8 hours of safety and range time myself. And the bill sponsor's aware of it. We spoke to them and they had originally put some information in there and then pulled it off. And nobody ever went back and said, you might ought to have some kind of regulatory agency or provide some criteria for the training, but which literally puts the burden of liability on the school. So I don't think this will be used very much as a result of that. So. Yeah. Anything else, Mr. Gray?
No, sir. That's it.
All right. I'll entertain a motion to accept the attorney's report.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like that. All right, the next thing on our agenda is good of the order. Do we have anyone signed up for public comments or?
Yeah, Gary.
That was good, my industry update. So go ahead, Gary.
All right, we're doing industry updates first or?
Either one.
All right, we'll start with industry updates. And sorry to jump ahead of the NCAPI. The North Carolina Security Association, NCPPSB.com, is up and running. It's been a long road coming. Bill McRae needs to be credited with the idea years ago that just never really got the support that it needed. Well, now we're going to push it forward. I'd like to also thank Renfro Security and the North Carolina Protection Group. We currently have, in 1 week, 247 members.
It's great.
We're just going to keep on that trajectory because the industry has spoken and the industry would like to have a voice here with the board. So we're looking forward to that. There are currently over 200 applications in the approval process that I just can't say that they're onboarded yet. We're working on it. So looking forward to that. Anybody that wants to join, feel free to go to NCPPSB.com. There's several different levels of membership. You can just be a member as a security guard. In that, you'll get updates on continuing education. You'll get the hot list from the PPS board. You'll get all kinds of articles about things to do, things not to do, things that are getting people in trouble. And we'll try to better the industry that. All the way up to the level where there's several levels. There's like 5 different levels. But once you get to the top level, that is for sponsors. They want to advertise their company and we'll have some of that area. So everything in between. Companies can register, guards can register, affiliate memberships. So we're looking forward to continuing on that path. It's going to be a good thing.
Very good.
So I'll yield to the NCAPI.
Gary, will y'all have like annual conferences like NCAPI does?
The goal at this point is to, now that we're established and we're starting to put together we'll start to put together a board of directors. We've already have our bylaws and all that kind of stuff set up with the Secretary of State, but now we'll put together the board of directors and we will start moving in that direction. Education is key. There are so many security guards out here that, I hate to say, are lost in the sauce, but it just is what it is. We can only do so much to educate our folks. And even though we offer continuing ed, unless we're willing to pay somebody to go do the continuing ed, there's only so much we can do. So hopefully this is going to be another resource where we'll put together conferences, we'll have area meetings, and I'm anticipating with over 77,000 guards in the state, I'm anticipating that we're going to get a pretty good undertaking here. We'll end up pretty busy.
Yeah, with the changes that's always happening with security and patrol, something that you may have already looked into is doing training and education, like lives training and education, and then make contact with the owners of the security companies, and then they could have their people come in and attend the live, which is interactive, and they can ask questions. Since there is so many, good luck finding a venue for 77,000 people.
Yeah, that would be a lot of people, but
yeah.
Again, the most important thing is that we continue to educate these folks, we continue to come together with the group, so that we can continue to grow and make the industry better.
Good job.
I would hope that your communication efforts of the do's and don'ts will help our grievance communications go down. That would be great.
I hope.
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning. My name is Sharon Porter. I'm representing the NCAPI this morning as the incoming Vice President of Programs and Education. So I just have a handful of updates for you this morning. Currently, we have 287 members. Approximately 150 members attended our annual conference in October in Atlantic Beach. We had 8 vendors, 2 full days of speakers, including Director Paul Shuren and Mr. David Poston. Thank you both for participating in our conference this year. We introduced a new mobile app for our members to use to track attendance to make it easier for us to know who attended all the sessions. There were some kinks, but it's going to be better for the next conference. We will be switching to spring conferences to avoid the hurricane season. We've had some conflicts and having to shuffle around at the last minute due to past hurricanes. So in 2026, our conference will be held April 21st and 22nd in Carolina Beach. Registration is currently open. We'll be providing more details as we finalize our speakers, and we're happy to announce that we're going to be sharing some new events, introducing some new events for the conference. And thank you to Director Paul Shuren for already agreeing to speak at that conference. Our membership values, the input, and the update for the PPSB. And thank you for the chance to address you this week.
Thank you.
I'd like to say.
Yes, ma'am.
So I was one of the board members that attended the NCAPI conference, and I have been a member of NCAPI for the majority of the time since 2008. And this past conference had to have been the best conference that I had attended that NCAPI put on. The fluidity of getting everything together, people in place, the speakers, the app, it made a huge difference. And just thank you for everything that y'all did. It was a great conference.
Thank you. Any other comments for good of the order? I'm sorry, Gary.
Sorry, I did the association thing, so I know everybody knows I like to hear myself talk. A couple of things I wanted to mention first. Canine licensing in North Carolina. I started a canine company. It's called K9C Canines. I'm the person in charge of the corporation, but I have a qualifying agent that's responsible for having the company license for the dog. Now, that's one guy who has one license for what we're doing. The problem is we could hire as many people, as many dogs, as many handlers as we want to, and there's no licensing, there's no registration, there's no training requirements, there's no insurance, there's no uniform requirements, there's no nothing. So what I would ask is that we raise the bar. There are companies out here that have 20, 50 dogs that are performing services every week. Are those people certified? Are they trained? Are they former law enforcement? Where do they get their dogs from? Are the dogs trained? Have the dogs been approved by the North Carolina Police Canine Association? There's so many pieces to this puzzle that I think that we're missing. And I'd really like to see us, because we already regulate part of this, to maybe start looking at a standard. Maybe the handlers should have to have a certain amount of experience and training. Maybe the dogs should be qualified through some type of program like the North Carolina Police Canine Association, where they have testing regularly. Maybe there should be some continuing education. Maybe there should be some there definitely should be some minimum insurance requirements, because let's face it, it's a canine. Things happen. So what are we doing? So I'd like to suggest that we start putting in our mind, how do we put together a committee to start looking at that? Should that be something that is a little deeper regulated? Maybe we can put something together, licensing procedure, and again, uniform requirements. I mean, right now I could have a 15-year-old kid, I can hand him a dog and say, there you go, Merry Christmas, go ahead. There's nothing. So it's a scary place to be, and it's a new industry to me. Luckily, I'm hiring retired police officers that are bringing their retired canines with them, so I know the qualifications and I can check off on it. But not everybody's doing that, so it's something to think about. If we could maybe look at that.
Got that?
Yeah,
Sorry. Go ahead.
I don't disagree. I would just supplement your comment with, if these folks and dog handlers are out doing security work, odds are their duties are falling under our security guard patrol license as security guards. So just something to put out there as thought, that perhaps companies that are doing both probably need both licenses, and hopefully the handlers are at least being registered as, say, unarmed guards if they're doing unarmed guard work with their dog. And usually it's the inverse problem. We have a security guard patrol company who is running dogs without a dog license, but
right. Most of these folks are doing weapons detection,
right,
narcotics detection. So it's not technically guard services per se, unless we really tweak it a little bit. But again, I know that there's companies out there that have 100 dogs in North Carolina, and you see them every time you go to a large venue, and it's the same thing. And there's no licensing, there's no nothing except for that one individual. So something to consider. And if anybody needs any input, I'll be happy to serve on any subcommittees or help put some of my folks in touch with them. One other thing, the armed guard stuff in school systems, totally agree. We can now have a staff member that's a W-2 employee that works for the school that teaches math who can now carry a handgun on private school property. That's scary. But a licensed, certified, armed, trained professional, maybe either retired from law enforcement, can't carry a gun on private school property. So when I come up here and you guys hear me complain, I'm preaching to the choir, and I know that. But it's been challenged to me on many times. Do something about it. And I'm that guy. So I've already written legislation. And I'm already gathering support to have that legislation pushed through, because already, if you've got a teacher that can carry a gun, what kind of common sense does it make that a licensed, trained, insured professional should not be? And people that are carrying their weapons for HR 218 think they can carry their gun on school property and be compensated for it are absolutely wrong.
Private school property.
Private school property, excuse me. Private school property. That's all I'm referring to. I'm not talking about public. But they're
Mr.
absolutely wrong.
Pastor, I appreciate your enthusiasm, but I would, again, as you and I have talked about numerous times, it's the training. And while I really, and you know, I've been a proponent of armed security in schools for years, but I do not feel that it is the best interest of either the industry or the public to simply take someone who has qualified as an armed officer with that amount of training and put them into a school. And I've talked about the John Jay School of Criminal Justice program, where they do childhood psychology and all sorts of stuff. So I would support your efforts, but I would ask that you maybe be a little more expansive on the idea of training, because I think it will not do us any good to take someone who is, simply an armed officer and put them into a school. They need additional training.
Totally agree. And that might be something that we need to look at it is.
We don't need the negligent discharges we see at every
Exactly.
EMP meeting occurring in a
I mean,
school.
let's face it, it's the first year my oldest child went to high school, we went to a thing where they discussed what it's like to have a high school student, right? Because we're all new high schools. And what came out was, well, their frontal lobe isn't developed, and therefore they're processing all their activity through the emotional yada, yada, yada. And I went up to the guy afterwards and said, so basically what you're telling me is I can't beat the crap out of the kid because he's not responsible. He said, no, that's not exactly what I said. But that is the case. If we're putting officers in schools, they're not dealing with mature adults. They're dealing with children. And that's an entirely different set of rules.
I would certainly support, a school resource officer training program of some.
I'm just saying,
Yeah, there's a lot more to be discussed, but first steps first. We first have to have the authority to be able to do it, so that then we can build the program or combine. I got one more thing. Licensed activity. Ms. Creech and I live in the same town. We communicate occasionally about unlicensed activity and such, and that seems to be working well. But right now, it's rampant, and we all have to work on it. And the investigators are overworked trying to keep up with it, and we appreciate that. But we've talked about, and I've been licensed for 27 years, and I've been to the majority of these meetings, and we talk about how PPS, and I don't mean any disrespect, doesn't have teeth, can only do so much, and we know that, and you guys can only do what the law gives you the authority. And we've come up with good ideas about going after folks and filing injunctions and all kinds of stuff, which is all a step in the right direction. When somebody takes something from you, if they advertise that they're going to do something for you, and then they take that money from you to do a job, in my opinion, that's obtaining property by false pretense. Now, I'm not a judge. I'm not an attorney. I did spend a couple of times in law enforcement and stayed at Holiday Inn Express, but that's my opinion. You're gonna take money from somebody and you're gonna say you're gonna do the job. You're holding yourself out as a licensee and you're saying, I can do this for you. Give me your money. They should be held responsible because they're ripping people off. So, that being said, yes, you've heard it before. I've already written a bill. And right now we're working on support from the chiefs of police and the sheriff's association because those are the two big dogs that we want in our corner to help push this kind of thing through. Where we can get some support and actually making it a felony to rip people off. And if we can do that, I certainly hope that we can count on the PPS support to be one of those people to sign your name and say, yes, we support this effort. So
I would like to add, because obviously I'm in the industry, we're not talking about like $100 or $200. We're talking thousands of dollars, upwards of $10,000 in some cases. So I would have to agree with you on that, Gary. I like what I'm hearing about that.
we're going to continue to push forward. And again, we're going to keep everybody involved as much as possible. And if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to work with you or have you work with us. Thank you.
Thanks, Gary. Yes, sir.
Yeah, maybe I missed the point there, and I apologize. I'm sure I probably, so what you're saying by obtaining property by false pretense, what you're saying is that a security company is performing a duty that they're paid for, but not rendering the services as directed by.
They're not licensed to perform that service.
Correct. Yeah. So in other words, it would be like somebody not having taught somebody properly how to be a security guard. In other words, you go to training, do the first 4 hours, but you don't do the remaining 12 hours. So then you're giving somebody who's not properly trained to actually do it. Is that what you were referring to?
I'm referring to holding yourself out as a dentist and then taking money to pull somebody's tooth, pulling their tooth. You don't have a license to do that. You're stealing from them.
Okay.
You might have still done the deed. You might have still pulled the tooth, but you stole from that individual by giving them something that they paid for that they expected that they didn't receive.
Right. So you're talking about an overall license.
Correct.
So, but wouldn't that be the same as what I just gave you an example of? If you're supposed to provide a security officer who is fully trained, and you only give them half of the qualification, then you're doing exactly the same thing as you're suggesting. So then the trainer should be held responsible. The company who was hired on should be held responsible. But the duty also falls on the officer to make sure that they're properly trained, because if they go for that first part, if you look at 74C, it says right in there what the requirements are to be a security officer. At what point do you also hold that security officer accountable for what they're not doing and what they should have done? Because they should have gone to their employer and said, where is the rest of my training? So there's a threefold issue here. You have a company that's hiring an irresponsible company. You have the company that they're hired is not training their people properly. And the people that didn't get the proper training aren't going back and then holding them accountable. But they're, for training that they're paying for.
Yeah,
And we get that a lot with grievance where the guard themselves complain on the employer for not providing that. That's a regular thing with us. And we have to go after the company for doing that, for the unregistered activity. Other comments?
It's difficult to enforce unlicensed activity if you don't have the support for law enforcement. What would make it easier is if our investigators had the authority to enforce. And I think we have been over that time and time again, but we haven't gotten any traction. So if you're into writing bills, maybe that's something that you can talk to Jeff with, or I don't know. We're at a standstill with this committee because we can find things that are happening. There's a lot of unlicensed activity going on, as Gary said, but there's nothing we can do about it if we don't have traction from law enforcement, and this is not the top priority for them. Don't care.
Please.
I support what you said. I think that's a good idea. I think, though, if you're going to try to get that passed, you should go with a misdemeanor, not a felony. You want legislators are not going to want to pass that, felony charge for that. I don't believe that would happen. I think if you start with the bar, Mr. You're putting some.
It's already a misdemeanor.
Yeah, but.
It's already in the books. The problem is that you can't get anybody to enforce it because it's not.
So if you have a felony, it's still not going to be enforced, right? I mean, if they're not enforcing misdemeanor, they're not going to enforce a felony.
I don't know. I would hope that they would start taking it seriously.
Yeah, I'm with you. I get that, but I'm just saying.
Obtaining property by false pretense is a felony in the state.
Well, you would have to have a victim. So if I were to hire someone and then found out they weren't licensed, I would have to be the one to go to the magistrate and say, or the DA's office and file a complaint. They can't ignore that. You have a victim.
Thank you. Good discussion.
All right, thank you. Anything else?
I have one person online who's trying to make a comment.
Okay.
Steven. Oh, he left. I don't know what he wanted to say. Maybe he'll come back, but.
Okay. We better come back quick.
I know. Oh, wait, he's back. He's back. Hold on. Steven, if you can hear me, you should be able to unmute yourself and make a comment.
All right, sorry about that. My computer, apparently MacBook, doesn't like me right today. So something I'd like to bring up before the board, I know it's been brought up previously in the past. There's been a lot of issues on my end that I've been seeing. For example, we have a lot of branded clothing that go out. Now, I'm not talking about unbranded things as far as, microphones, certain equipment that officers carry that are unbranded. But I do have a serious concern, and I do believe it does fall in line with the board's mission for ensuring the public safety and welfare is branded uniform equipment from licensed entities that security officers do not return back to the company. Again, there's a lot of places that don't deal with highly secure facilities, but then obviously you do. And unfortunately, we kind of have to cater to the idea that these security companies can get into accounts on different levels where there's a high level of security that's necessary. When you have people that retain certain branded uniform equipment from licensed entities, it does pose a risk because they have that equipment in their possession. Is there something that the board is able to do or consider in that sense? And what I mean is in reference to branded uniforms that stay security on them with the company's information on it, not generic uniforms or things that were purchased by a individual for their job.
Respond.
I'll be glad to respond. You have no authority whatsoever. You're to determine the qualifications and the experience requirements to be licensed or registered. That is not within the purview of the board, statutory purview of the board at all.
Okay.
Sort of like the issue that we had that we wanted to discipline guards that didn't show up for work.
Yeah.
You have no authority to do such a thing.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right. We're going to take a 10-minute break in case anybody needs to check out. When we come back, we'll be in a closed session. So there will be nobody in the room except for the board to a matter. So I appreciate everybody's attendance. I appreciate your comments. We look forward to seeing you again in January. Thank you.
If you need your CE certificate,
So if I understood.
they're in the back table. Don't leave without it.
So you have somebody that's unlicensed, that actually owns the service paid for.
What's that?
Yes. The probationary employee.
No, this is about,
Yeah.